Right, I'll answer both those questions shortly. So first, do I use a visualizer? Yes, I do. However, although I've been tutoring online for over 3 years, I only got it about 6 to 8 months ago. And to be honest, I don't use it that much. I actually, maybe partly because I'm not used to it that much. I use it sometimes when I'm doing some maths, but it works okay, but it's not amazing. And I managed absolutely fine without it. And I've already got things scanned and things like that, so I find it easier to put on there. It's not very good for reading text. So my main use is to use it with my manipulatives. But as you'll see later, I've also got online manipulatives, and I find them sort of slightly easier to use. Can you upload PowerPoints? I don't know. I guess what I've done is that if I've got a PowerPoint, I wouldn't necessarily use it all. So what I would do is I would just cut out, copy and paste the bits that I want to show them and do that. My other option would be to share screen like I'm doing this and just do the PowerPoints the normal way on a computer. So is there any way the children can do practical activities and show me? So if the children have got their own equipment, so I have some of my kids have their own stuff. So they literally, for example, if I wanted them to show me 23, they would actually just hold it up to the camera so that I can see. They can work on whiteboards. It really depends on the child and what they've got. I have some parents who've got so much maths equipment and so much English equipment that they just have whatever they need, and that's how I work it. Other children don't have anything, so we just make do with the online stuff. I've never used magnetic letters with my kids, so I assume if they had them, I don't see how they. I mean, I would assume they could just move them around and then hold it up to you. But it is definitely not something I've done. But I would imagine that they could just hold it up to you at an angle so it doesn't fall down. And if it's magnetic, it would work that way. So, well, my last question is that, do I screenshot from a Kindle? How do I screenshot from a Kindle? So there's different ways. The way that I do it is that I have a program that I downloaded onto my computer called Lightshot Screenshot, and it literally, I press 3 buttons and then it turns dark and then I can select the bit I want. I know there's other keys that you can do on a keyboard, but I find that one's the most convenient for me. Again, I can leave a link to that. I don't know if it's for just Mac or whether it's for Windows as well, but there's lots of different ways that you can copy. So if you've got Kindle app on your computer, you can just have it open and you can literally just select the bit that you want. Okay. Last question, do I work online full time? I work probably about 70% of my work is online. So, and some children are a mixture of online and face-to-face. Some children are all online, and I have a few that are just all face-to-face, but maybe that will change very soon. Okay, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen to show you a few more things about maths that I do. So this is a really popular game. I have one child who I teach twice a week online for half an hour. We have played this same game since November. Every session we play this one game. I'm like, do you want to play a different game? No, this game. He absolutely loves it. And we changed the characters. So I'm not sure what we are here, but I've been Pokemon, I've been, you name it, all types of things I've never heard of. I think I was very random stuff. We've also been animals, food, whatever, but he absolutely loves this game. And I thought this is a really good one to show you because I combine it with the online dice. So I will tell him that I'll give him some criteria so he can choose addition or subtraction or multiplication or division. Sometimes I will force him to do one because he doesn't like it. But generally, if he's worked really well for the rest of the session, he'll choose. And we'll literally just, if we were doing 3-digit numbers, I'll do 3-digit numbers. I'll cast, we'll get our 2 numbers. He's never worked out that where it says your result is the total of the 2 numbers. He's never worked it out in all of this time, and I am not going to tell him. So he'll still sit there and do his addition. So what I'll then do is I'll copy this down. So I'll write down the 2 numbers on, oh, something weird's gone on. 1 second, oh, something strange is happening. Oh, that's better. So I'll write down the 2 numbers, for example, 8, I can't even remember what they were, but 2, 6, 9. He actually does not have, he works on an iPad. He's not able to write on the screen as such. So what he does is he uses the annotate tool. So he will annotate over the top and tell me what to write. The problem with that is once we clear the annotation, is gone. So it's always good to write underneath, and he'll then tell me where he wants to move the piece. So this game, literally the robber has to get to the top of the board and the cop always has to catch the robber. It works the same, but you can adapt it for any bit of maths at all. And I would reckon you could adapt it for quite a lot of phonics or comprehension questions, anything you like really, but it's exceptionally popular and they love it. It did originally come with some specific questions, but it means you can adapt the questions to your tutee. And so, yes, I've been playing that every week, twice a week for a long, long time. Another one. Again, this is another game from Twinkle, but I deleted all the questions. And then I let the child, what I've done is let the child choose a random question. So you can't just have them folded up and they can just pick from a hat or something, but I just have each question cut out and then they just choose whichever one they want to and we bring it up. And that one looks like I left that bit on. And then they answer the question. After they've answered the question, they move, roll a dice and move. If it's my go, they still answer my question and then I move. So we just take it in turns, but it just makes it a little bit more interesting than just, here's a worksheet, get on with it. So I would not normally do that when they're face to face. So I try not to do it online as well. And again, this child decided to go for different types of sports balls for some reason. So you can see that I just let them choose whatever they like. It takes a couple of minutes, but it keeps them sort of more on my side. Another one, this was done by a 7-year-old earlier this week. So this is looking at fractions and what fractions mean. And all I wanted him to do was colour. As you can see, his colouring's not fantastic, but as long as the intention is clear enough for me, I'm like, that's absolutely fine. We do talk about, well, if you're in school, you need to make sure that it looks much neater. But as long as I can understand what they have tried to do, I am perfectly happy with that. It's really, really clear that he meant to colour 3/4, so he's happy. And again, it's interactive. I can't do the same as here in the sense I can't get out the fraction and he can't move them around. But what I can do is use a website. So this is one that I really like. And I give the children control and then they can actually move different fractions in. So it's a very similar concept. And on Monday, when I was doing this with him, he was working out, what can I put in to fill it up? Oh, that doesn't work, I'll take that out, I'll try this. Oh, that doesn't work, I'll try that. And then once they've done something, I would copy and paste it. So again, I'll do a cutout and then I will put it straight back onto their screen so that we can see whatever it was that they had done. So I've got a record of it, but they're also the ones who are doing the majority of the work, like they would be in person with my physical fraction stuff. They're doing it themselves on the computer, and I can just, in some ways it's better because I can actually copy everything, single thing they've done, rather than, oh, let's put them all away to get out for the next one. So this website, I think, is absolutely fantastic for fractions. It's worth exploring. It's got other things as well. You've got geoboards. So you can drag a geoboard on, and you can use elastic bands to create shapes, and then you can sort of split it out. So again, not the same, but similar. Do the children see all my tabs? Yes, so I'm very careful what I have up. So I literally just have up what's suitable. I also have a different web browser, which they can't see. So it's literally the things that they can see is just, the way I've set it up is they can only see what's open on my Chrome. So they can't see anything else on my whiteboard, like on the rest of my computer. Okay. How do I get rid of that? 1 second. I need to remove the chat somehow. Oh yeah, let's put it over there. This one also has possible number lines. Let's clear it. So you can have number lines. So there's all sorts of different things you can do. There's different programs that work better for different things. So it's worth exploring to see what you think will work best for you. Often just the whiteboard works absolutely fine on its own. I use that as my main thing. And then just when I want them to do something different that the whiteboard doesn't support so well, that's when I would move to something else. Next page. Okay, this was something that I did yesterday with a girl in maths. So she is really into the coronavirus. She's exploring it and she's writing an essay for me. She specifically asked to. I said, fine, as long as your parents are fine with it. She's homeschooled. And so we used it as an opportunity to look at graphs. And so I shared my screen so she could see the particular website, but then I could just copy and paste a couple of graphs so that we could talk about some different things like the scale of the graphs. And by having them side by side, it was really, really useful to really illustrate the point. So when you're doing it face to face, you would still show them the website, but actually by being able to put it side by side, it illustrates your point even clearer. And it's actually really quick to do. So to just copy and paste takes just a couple of seconds once you know what you're doing. It doesn't disrupt the session at all. And you can actually illustrate things much, much quicker. We do number puzzles, crosswords. We choose the questions, they write their answers in. So this was a session that I had with someone I normally see face to face. Their mum has actually self-isolated the family already. So suddenly we had a 3-hour online lesson for maths and English. So this is the first time he'd used the program. And as you can see, his writing with the mouse is perfectly readable, no problems at all. So he did that on his own. Obviously, to do lots and lots of it would be quite hard work, but because he was doing a little bit, then working the next question out a little bit, he was absolutely fine. Sometimes if they really struggle to do it the size of the boxes, they'll tell me the answer and I'll write it in. So whatever works for the kids that you've got. Again, yesterday we looked at this. I just got 100 square up. We were trying to solve a problem. They used the tools of the circle to create circles rather than just well, we started circling and then he came up with the idea of using the official circles. So you'll find that the kids have so many ideas of their own of how to use the technology to improve what they're doing. So it's really worth using their ideas, because it's like they come up with an idea and then I try it out on another kid and you're like, that was a really good idea. So it's really worth listening to what they've got to say. because they are so inventive. And then, oh, this is another one where actually, normally if I was doing something like this, I would maybe have some cards and they would be moving them around. So what I did for this one is I typed numbers, and then the children can just move them into the squares. And then, depending on whether they've got the answer they were looking for or not, they can then just move it out. It also means that rather than writing, it makes sure that they use the numbers given and they don't use them twice, which is a really common problem. So, and then they can move them back again and try something different. So again, it makes it really, really good because they can just move things around. They're doing it themselves. They're interactive. I'm literally just guiding them, questioning them just the way that I would normally. And then, oh yes, this was with one kid. We were trying to work out the fraction of the shape that was covered blue. So he had the idea of splitting it into squares, and I just let him go with it. And as you can see, it didn't really work, but that's okay because we can literally just delete it. Oh, sorry, we can delete it, we can recopy it, and we can try again. We discussed that it would be more successful maybe thinking about triangles, but we ran out of time. So the next session, we had another go. And then we came up with a better plan. But we can see what we did first time compared to what we did the second time, and use that to sort of, and when I give him another problem, we can go back and look at what we've done. And I find it's much easier to have them all on different pages because you can just flick backwards and forwards to have a look, to find out before, whereas if I've moved the whole whiteboard up, I wouldn't be able to necessarily find it very easily. So things like that. And also, if they make a mistake, you can just delete it and it really doesn't matter, and they like that. Whereas for something like this, if we were doing it face to face on paper, you'd probably have to have 5 or 6 copies of it printed out just for them to try different things, or there'd be so much rubbing out that the blue area will probably have disappeared. And then again, I adapt a lot of worksheets so that they're just drag and drop. So you've got 6 combinations. Initially, I put them all on top of the original before the crosses are there. And then once they've taken them and moved them somewhere, I will then put a cross to say, we've used this. So it takes a few minutes to set up, but if you've got a tool that can cut and paste really quickly, something like this would take me maybe 30 seconds. So it's not a massive length of time. And you learn to be quick. The other thing you can do is once you've done it once, you can actually copy the whole page. So I can draw a massive big green rectangle around it. I can use just Command Copy or whatever the normal one is. I can then go to a new whiteboard, so maybe for a different child, brand new page, and I can copy and paste it and have it all back up again. One thing I do notice is sometimes if you do it to a brand new whiteboard, it doesn't show up the first time. So just move to the next page, go back just to double check. The other thing that's really useful, if you've got the same thing, for example, this one, before they've even drawn on it, to actually have a double page. So this icon here is copy the whole page. So it will literally do a duplicate of that page. So if you do that, then you can you've already got the copy before they've drawn on it. So it's just a little bit quicker. I think, yeah, that was pretty, manipulatives, yes. So I actually use a lot of manipulatives. I've got my Cuisenaire rods just here. If the kids are with me, we'll use those a lot. However, online, I created these so that they can actually use these instead for this. I've also created, or actually created these ones, Cuisenaire rods. So, and this is why I don't use the visualizer all that much, because I actually just find it quite easy to use these instead, and the kids can see it on the screen. Also, when I use the visualizer, then the children can't see my face. or if I'm using it in combination with the whiteboard, the picture on the visualizer is really small. So sometimes I feel like the whiteboard is actually better than the visualizer. So I make a decision depending on what I'm going to do. So I have these set up ready to use, so that, and if the child has got it themselves, I will get them to actually do it in front of them. I'll ask them to maybe move their computer forward or something so that I can see what they've done, or if they've got a webcam, they'll maneuver it around. Other times I'll just get them to hold up. If they're working on a whiteboard, I'll get them to hold up the whiteboard. Basically, it depends what the kid, who the kid is, what they can do, what they've got resources at home, and we just adapt it to those. So I have found that for all of the children, apart from one, online tutoring works really well. I've got one child who started off face-to-face. She went to online tutoring because it was more convenient for the mum. Initially, it worked really, really well. And then it sort of deteriorated. She didn't want to do anything. It was very hard to sort of cajole her to do anything. And she's just started coming back to see me face-to-face. But she's the only one out of all the children who I have where I feel that online tutoring does not work for her. For others, I would say face-to-face is better for a few of them, but having the odd session or two online is not detrimental. It means you can continue, but I think that for some children it is better for them to be face-to-face. But for the majority of the children, I would say online is just as good, if not better. Okay, so that's really, I've just got, oh, the last thing, stickers. I give my kids online stickers rather than like normal stickers, because they still like stickers, they still want stickers, but I'll just copy them from the internet. And if I know that they're interested in something, I'll just choose the ones that I think they will like. So I hope you can see that what I do is actually quite similar to face-to-face. There's not masses of difference, and all of the things I've shown you work with children age 6 upwards. I've never taught anyone under 6, so if they're younger than that, I don't know anything about that. So, but from 6 upwards, it's worked really successfully for me. So I'm very happy to take any questions if anybody's got any questions. I'm quite happy to unmute people. So maybe if you've got a question, maybe now you are able, I think, to put up your hand and then you know who's talking. But I can't remember where that is on the Zoom because I've never had to use it. Someone else might be able to find it. But I've got one here. So this is Caroline. Where's Caroline? Here, Caroline, if you can unmute, do you know how to unmute yourself? Perfect. Do you want to speak? No, I can't hear you. Oh, try again. There's a little bit of a hissing sound, but I can't hear words. No, I think, so things like this is really good to check with someone that you know, even if it's in the next door room, just to work out. Sometimes it's to do with your computer settings. Every so often I have to close Zoom down and reload it. That can get it working, the sound working again. There's different things. If you have a look at where your microphone moves up and down, you can have a look there as well. Okay, Nicole, can you unmute yourself? Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I use bit of paper and Zoom a lot. So my question is, when my students do that, they have to like flick between bit paper and screen share. And I'm thinking with younger ones, will they get that? So how do you haven't mentioned that. So do you see what I'm asking you?
Yes, so what I do is, I basically, for most of the sessions, they're just on bit paper. So they've got the Zoom box at the top of the corner and they're just on bit paper.
So how do they get your face on their
So,
paper?
so what happens is when they first log in, I'm quite big. If they go to minimize, so at the top of the screen, you've got a red, an amber and a green button. If they press the amber button, it takes them a while to find it. It's normally on the top left. It will minimize, but it will then create a little floating picture. So they have that, and then they can see the whiteboard underneath.
So they stay on bit paper.
So
actually, I think what happens is sometimes I show them a PowerPoint and then they have to go back to my screen share.
So what I do for that is I tell them first, make me extra big. So they have to and I tell them there's a little, on the bottom right hand corner, there's a little box with a green arrow. Click on that. I check that I'm extra big. Then I will share my screen with them.
Right.
Then if I want them to use something, so for example, if I want them to use the virtual manipulatives, I will give them remote control so that they then have control of my computer. And they can use that.
Okay, so you wouldn't go to screen share straight away. You start off on bit paper and go to screen share if you need it.
Yes.
Right, I'm with you. Okay, thank you.
Normally, that's okay. And normally if it's a PowerPoint, I probably wouldn't, I don't really show PowerPoints that much. I just take the bit of the PowerPoint that I want rather than a whole PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else who's got any questions? If you can just indicate maybe in the chat and then I can see who it is. Or if anybody has anything, any suggestions of what they do or might do. Anyone? Ah, yes. Can you unmute yourself? Sorry, I don't know your first name. C. Griffiths.
Hi, it's Catherine.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Where you're saving them all, do you save? Because I had a look on Scribbler and bit paper, and Scribbler you could like prepare it all. It saved it all, sort of in a space on there. Are you just saving all your bits on different pages?
Yes, so what happens is that I've got all the pages. Basically, once you've set up a bit paper, if you go to, let's go back to the bit paper. If you go to this part here, you can go to save paper.
Right.
I've got all the photos. It's a good idea to do that because then it goes, so you can save the paper. I've already saved it. So you can save duplicates. The other thing that you can do is you can create a PDF. And this is another reason why I do it on separate pages, because it will only PDF the bits that it can see on your screen. So if you've got stuff off your screen all over the place, it's not going to pick it up. So that's another reason that I do it, is because it gets all the things on the thing. And then if you want, you can send it to the parents. So I have some parents that I don't send it at all. I have other parents that I send it once a month. I used to send it at the end of every lesson, but now I've got so many online that it's just too much. So I just send it to certain people who've requested it. But I also PDF myself every so often, so that I've got a copy of it, because although it goes up to 100 pages, I can get through 20 to 30 pages in an hour's session because I don't put much on each page. So I'm not worried about running out, but I want to sort of be able to look back and see what I've done.
So do you keep one paper per child?
Yes, so what I can do is I'll just set it up on here. So this is bit paper. So on the actual bit paper, you've got a feature that says my papers. And so I never use this because as soon as I start typing the kid's name in and the top bar, their paper comes up. But what you'll see is that all your papers come up and you can scroll through. Some of them have got more than one. Oh, so here's one that the kid wanted a page to play with. So rather than him sort of being interested in my session about how you do this, how you do that, I set him one up to play. I've never looked at it. I don't know if he's used it, but it's there for him. So it means that he doesn't spend the lesson looking at what all the different things can do. I also found that the children that I started a long time ago, their pages are really slow to load up. So this year I've given each child a new paper, and then depending on how slow it is to load up, gradually I will do another new paper. The other thing I started to do is that I started to make papers for specific topics like order of operations, so that then what I can then do is open that and then copy it to that kid's page. So I've got it forever, and then just copy over the bits that I want. That would be great if I was organized the whole time. It has worked. It's been really successful where it's worked, but I'm just not organized enough to do it all
So when
the
you
time.
save it, that saves into My Papers.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
brilliant.
also
Thank you
if
so
I
much.
literally just type, for example, Giorgio, you can see straight away, they just come up and I can just click on it.
Right, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mirali, hopefully I've said your name correct. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question? Hi.
Hi. Yes, you said my name correctly. Thank you. Just wanted to ask about feedback that you give to parents. You have partially answered that question, but do you tell them how their children are doing, how they've coped, what level they're at, that sort of thing? Which parents like?
It depends on the parents. So because I teach quite a few homeschool children, so for them it's more like what I'll do is some of them I set homework for because their parents have asked, some I don't. Some of them we sort of have a monthly update, so I send things through, but if there's anything specific then I will just send WhatsApp messages and we'll have a chat, or we'll organise a time on the phone to call. One parent, she's not really bothered as long as her kids are doing some maths with me. She doesn't really mind. The father's more interested, but he said he'll email me questions, but he never got round to it. So it really depends. But also, like a lot of them, the parents are sort of in and out. So they can see how their kids are doing by just popping in or not. Some parents at the end of sessions, I have a quick chat with. It really depends on the age of the parent. It's the same like with the face-to-face ones. Some of them, if they're older, they come on their own, they leave on their own, so I don't see their parents. And it's the same with the older ones online, but the parents can email me at any time. I've got WhatsApp with all the parents, and that's one thing actually that's really, really, really useful to do, especially with the younger children. The very first session, when you're going through everything, just how to use it, keep the parent in there, and I explain to the child that if anything goes wrong, and there's so many things that can go wrong, that the first thing they have to do is go and get their parent. But I also have my phone with me, and I will also say to the parent while they're in there, I will WhatsApp you if there's a problem. So for example, if the internet connection disappears and they disappear completely, I will straight away send a WhatsApp message so that the parents are aware. Even if the child's gone, I can't tell. Often the child will click on the microphone and make themselves silent. Usually they didn't do it on purpose, they've just been fiddling around and it's accidentally clicked. They don't know how to get it back. So again, I will talk to the parent. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Oh no. Hello? Hello?
Hello, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I
No,
was just
I think
typing. Yeah, I was just.
that's okay. I think my internet went down slightly. I think it's my fault, but I'm not sure. It's gone again. 1 second. I'm just going to change to a new one. You're probably going to lose me for a moment. Okay, can you hear me again? Yes? So sometimes that happens. So I will always contact the parent. If they've muted themselves, I'll contact the parent. If they can't hear me, I'll contact the parent. I won't assume that they're doing it on purpose. They could be, but actually often they've just fiddled around and they don't know what they pressed, so they don't know how to get it back. So it's best to assume that they didn't do it on purpose, rather than imagine that they did. And then the parent can show them how to do it. So yeah, if there's no other questions, I think this would be a really good time to stop, because the free meeting is going to end soon. I'm very happy to answer more questions in the Facebook chat afterwards if anybody's got anything after that, okay? But thank you for coming. I hope you found it useful and it gives you some idea of what you can do with primary children and how online can be adapted. So thank you very much, and I'll answer any questions in a Facebook chat. Okay, bye.